Um, Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I got a new camera with a new computer, and I swear I don't know what the best color thing is anymore. Who the hell knows? I look red, I look orange. Okay, so I got a question. Is wholesaling the same in the rest of New York? And he wrote in parentheses specifically Rockland, West Orange, as it is in Long Island, the five boroughs. If not, what are the differences? Okay, so New York's a massive state, right? One of the what's bigger? The only states bigger than New York are California, Florida, Texas, right? It's the fourth biggest state in the country, and it's huge, right? It goes all the way up to Canada. Um, is it the same? So anywhere in the five boroughs or near the five boroughs, so Nassau County, most of Suffolk County, Westchester County, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. I'd say Rockland County, also the same. But as you go further out, so way east, Suffolk County, probably also the same. But when you go way up north, so Orange County, Ulster County, and when you go even further, like Rochester and all the other places up there, it can get a little different. So what do I mean? So the general procedure in New York is dramatically different than any other where in the country because a, a real estate transaction does not take place between a buyer and a seller like it does almost anywhere in this country, right? If I'm a buyer, you're a seller, and you say, hey, I want to sell for $100,000, and I go, great. I can pull out a contract out of my pocket, sign the contract, and we're in contract. In some states, I don't even need to give a deposit. Some states I do have to give a deposit. Some states actually you have to actually put that deposit in the bank. Some you don't. In New York, the transaction takes place between a seller's attorney who generates the contract and a buyer's attorney who will go back and forth with that attorney over the intricacies of the contract. And the contract is not valid until the deposit clears. And typically, customary in New York is 10% EMD, earnest money deposit, which means if you're buying a property for $300,000, you want to put $30,000 down. I don't know any other place in the country where that takes place. In some parts of the country, it's a nominal fee, $100, $200, just to make theirs have some consideration at the contract. Other places it's more, maybe a few thousand. Some places it's 1%, but 10% is unique to New York. Now, all of these things I just told you are because they go around in a circle. The reason why there's a big deposit is because an attorney feels his time is so valuable that I don't want to waste time on this contract if the guy is not serious. And I'm walking away for $50, right? And I guess it makes sense, right? The attorney's professional. His time it has value to it, and he doesn't want to prepare a contract if the guy is not going to be really beholden in some way to close. I understand that. Another major difference is, and I know I'm getting a little off topic. I'm just explaining how things work around New York City, is that there is no inspection contingency in New York. I don't know any other place that does this, but the inspection gets done before the contracts are signed. So when I'm selling something, I just got an accepted offer on a property. The buyer says, "Great, we'll do it. We'll do an inspection tomorrow or the day after." They do an inspection. If there are any repairs that they want made, they'll put it in a rider to the contract. So it's not like everywhere else where you go into contract. There's a contingency period. In California, they call it the escrow period. We call it in contract. And in this escrow period, anybody can walk away. Right, so the buyer can say, you know what, I changed my mind. Seller can say goodbye. So maybe the seller can, but the buyer can definitely walk away. So what that does is it makes wholesaling dramatically different in New York because in most parts of the country it is as close to a risk-less transaction as possible because you have an inspection contingency, and if you can't find a buyer or you change your mind and there's a minimal deposit, you can simply walk away. In New York, every time I go into contract, I have to close or I have to assign the contract. Those are really my only two choices. I can novate the contract also, but similar to an assignment, I don't want to go into that. So, is it the same upstate New York? So I know people who do this in Rochester and they tell me they use an attorney every time. I know there are people who use it in Albany and they use an attorney every time, but it can be different, right? If you go to somebody in the middle of nowhere, New York, way up north near the Finger Lakes, and you say to them, I want to buy your house, they may sign a contract with you and feel like they're obligated to close. They may say, I'm going to use an attorney. They may say, I don't know if I use an attorney. But it's different. It's different because I don't want to make people who upstate New York seem less sophisticated. Sometimes they are and sometimes they aren't, right? I love the people in upstate New York. I spent a lot of time upstate New York in Sullivan County and Ulster County. There's great people there. But in general, it is much more rural, and some people are less sophisticated, and people are more trusting, and they'll say, "Okay, let's sign a contract, and I'm fine, and let's go to closing when I want to." So, technically, in most parts of New York, an attorney needs to be involved in the contract process. There are parts far, far away from New York City where that may not take place every time. So it's hard to be exact. But the question was like in Rockland is really very close to New York. Westchester is going to be exactly like New York. Orange is probably going to be some half and half. But as you go further away, it's not exactly the same. So what are the differences? So there's differences in every county when it comes to getting data, right? I get horrible data in Nassau and Suffolk County. I cannot get a lot of data that I'd like. A lot of the data is much better upstate New York in Orange and Rockland than those areas. You can get much better data. You can get code enforcement data. You can get tax delinquent data. You can get those things. You can't get them closer to New York City. They feel like it's a privacy issue, which is complete horseshit. But that's how they feel. So so it's different everywhere, right? But as the process, as you get closer to New York, it's going to be more ironclad that no one's going to ever allow you to push a contract across the table and let them sign it. Now, it doesn't mean it never happens. It can happen. But you got to understand something. There's always the risk that if you do something that is not customary and somebody gets pissed at you, they find out you assigned the property for $100,000 more than they sold it to you for, they can start a lawsuit against you. Now, if you do things the normal way, I do them the same way every time. I use an attorney. I'm represented. If the seller is not represented, which very rarely happens, they sign a very extremely strongly worded affidavit saying they understand they don't want to be represented. But there is no there's no chance I'm going to get sued. Everybody and my sellers are always represented, except there are one or two occasions. So there's no way they're going to get sued. They had counsel. If they're going to sue anybody, they'll sue their counsel for malpractice. How did you let me sell this property so cheap? Something stupid like that. But again, nothing like this has ever happened. I just believe that if you do something if you go off the reservation and you try and do you try and say, well, I want to do a deal without attorneys because it's so much easier for me, and I can put an inspection contingency in there. I understand the thinking there. Just understand that you do run the risk that someone could get pissed and sue you. I'm not saying it'll ever happen, but you do run that risk. I don't run that risk. It doesn't mean that I don't want to close deals that way. On some level, I do. And that's kind of the reason why I do some deals outside of New York. But there's no real difference, right? All the deals in New York should happen the same way I described. The transaction should take place with a seller's attorney generating a contract and a buyer's attorney responding, and everybody's represented and ironclad in New York State. But as you get further and further away from the city, there could be people who are less sophisticated. There could be transactions that can take place without that and avoid that. But I think legally, it's not illegal. And the truth is, it's not illegal. I'm not saying that you're legally bound in New York to close a deal that way. I'm saying because it's usual and customary to close a deal that way, that if people aren't represented and a guy would bring a suit against you, I would think he may have a good case against you. This guy told me I don't need an attorney. This guy just bought a contract. I thought, I don't know what was going on. And judges may listen to that. So as for other changes, again, it's different in every county when it comes to data. Every other difference between close to New York City and away from New York City, I don't think there's anything else. So that's pretty much all I got. I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com or learntoflipandwholesale.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help. A lot more people liking, and then a lot more people see my videos. A lot more people like them from that. So it's a good turn of events and a good cycle that happens. So please, now I think I look horrible in this light. I thought I looked better before, but now I think I look terrible. But that way I look red. I'm not red. Is that better? I don't know if that's better or worse. I don't know. So, and please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. In general, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Your questions give me things to talk about. You can ask any question. It does not have to be about the video you're watching. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video or videos on it. And if it's something that I've never covered or I haven't covered in a long time, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.